A wonderful good morning, dear trading friends. There's a bit of an update to report. Yesterday, as I shared on Telegram, I closed my Bitcoin position, where unfortunately, as I already mentioned, I had a worse entry due to a pattern rejection here. I had a worse entry, but it still ended up in profit. I also closed my Ethereum position yesterday. I shared that with you, and I'll share again how I'm now preparing for new trades. But with Ethereum, I exited my entire position here. We dumped a bit further and are now seeing a small recovery. I could even expect a bit more of a recovery. We'll go through that in a moment as well. You know my Fibonacci trading style. So I'm going to take a look at whether we'll see a recovery to around $3,970 to $4,034 or not. But those would be the next opportunities for me to go short. But we'll compare all of that with the liquidation heat map. The only position I still have open is my XRP position. I even shared a live stream with you where I placed a short position at the 0.786 level. We actually hit that target. Yesterday I took partial profits right in this area here and said I'd let the rest ride, let it run. We still have a lot of liquidity sitting around $2.30 and I'd really like to see that get taken out. Not only that, let's also take a look at what's happening with Q, that is Quack AI, the coin I just bought live. It's gone down a bit and so has the grid trading bot. So that's a bit in the red as well. I'll probably buy a bit more here now too. Why is that? Just so you can see it. Quack is currently forming a bullish divergence here. And for me, that's the opportunity for us to see an increase. That's why I'm considering whether to add to my dollar cost average now. As I said, I invested $200 to see if we keep going up. And I would do that up to a maximum of $1,000. And the last one? Let's take a look at the bullish divergence here, what happened and whether it worked. Just so you know why I bought Quark back then. It was because of this one guy who gave me the tip. He makes an incredible amount of profit with low caps. But just as a small example, that was also a bullish divergence. And then it recovered. I haven't looked at any others yet. But Quark AI, just for those of you who are wondering, I noticed that quite a few people bought a little bit as well. I'll probably keep an eye on it for a bit longer, but I might buy more. But let's move on now. The trading bots, if we look at this here, they're down a bit despite the massive crash. And of course, we've seen a recovery now, but everyone is still in profit, so everything's going well so far. We have 19 buyback orders, 18. Unfortunately, it was a bit too late yesterday for me to start another bot because the number of safety orders would have been really great for me. Now we've already had a bit of a recovery, but if we drop lower, I'll definitely do it. But let's move on to the analysis now and take a look at Bitcoin. The last trade here was almost a bit of a gamble, not really my style, not how I usually enter positions. With the 0.5 Fibonacci, I would have had a much better entry and of course could have taken more profits as well. But what do I see now? If we quickly switch over to the regular charts, take a look. We are currently actually in a kind of consolidation phase, which remains intact for now. It will be very interesting to see whether we really continue like this. And say we just move back and forth a bit here, depending on what the market gives us, until we eventually get a breakout. Because, regardless of whether it goes down or up now, what we are experiencing here in a consolidation phase, even one as large as it would be if it happened immediately, this is simply an accumulation phase. This means that the people who actually want to push the price down will, time and again, whenever we reach the top here, push the price down with limit orders. So, if the price really does break downwards, those who placed all those individual limit orders will of course have a very good entry price for their short positions, and there could be hundreds of millions involved. Conversely, we have long orders here that keep buying up the price again and again. We saw it here. We can zoom in again. Here it was bought up twice and here it was bought up again as well. Now it remains exciting. What will happen in the future? Will it be a breakdown or a breakout? And that's what we need to prepare for now. Now do the following. I will only take small trades again. How do I go about it? Liquidation heat map. Beforehand, I want to show you something. Unfortunately, you can't see it now. Of course, that's very interesting. Overall, before we move on to the liquidation heat map, what else did I say in the last videos and the last live streams? At the moment, well, last time it was still the case that we had so much liquidity below us, both on a weekly and daily basis, that we actually should have moved downwards. And that's exactly what happened. But the situation has changed. Take a look. This entire skyline, if I switch to the weekly chart for Bitcoin here, the liquidity that was previously below us is now above us, up to about 117,000 US dollars. And of course, it's fun to watch because it allows you to prepare for a possible reversal into these price zones. And that's exactly what I'm going to do now. And I'll also show you now what my plan is or how I'm approaching this analysis. 117,000, that means roughly up here. That's where we have the last bit of liquidity lying. That could, of course, indicate a breakout. If we don't pick up everything, we're simply back in the rejection zone, just like we are now, and we're consolidating. Moving on. But what would my approach be now? Because we mustn't forget, we still have something left at 105. And a bit more will build up again. There are still 3 billion left. Just above us, there are now almost 11 billion. That's obviously super interesting. But maybe we'll still pick up those 3 billion down below, depending on how far we go down. Then that would be another wick into this price area here, right? We haven't completely closed this wick yet, but it doesn't have to happen. But it could still go in here again. This is now the exciting zone with liquidity above and below us. But if we look at the order books, you don't really see that much below us right now. But we do have a large rejection zone where there's a bit, what's there now? Not that much yet. But those are right above us, exactly at a price up to 117,000 US dollars. That's what I just mentioned, where the end of the liquidation roughly lies. And if we look at a week in Model 3, which is super interesting, we can see it glowing really brightly here. It's glowing. It's so exciting to see that. And that's actually what we want for a reversal so that we can move higher. But if we look at 2 weeks, and now here's the question for you. What do you think? Do you think a liquidation that's been open for 2 weeks now and is so close in front of us, just waiting to be picked up, do we really just leave it there so close? Buy, Baltus. Of course, it's already been open for a while and now new long orders are coming in. But here in the price range of 105,300, I can show you, I still have my orders placed. Not here, sorry, but here. 105,300, then 100,000 and 94,000, my orders are still there. And I placed the first order here precisely because of this liquidation. And for me, the next step would be to follow this assumption. If someone copies this, of course it's at their own risk. This is not investment advice, but normally, except for the support here, we don't have anything bullish right now. No reversal signals. So what is a bullish reversal signal for me? For example, that would be a bullish divergence. A bullish divergence is super interesting because it allows us to move up. And that's obviously interesting. We can see the example here. The price went lower and the RSI went higher here. So what happened then? We had a small reversal and a nice pump upwards. And that's exactly what I would like to see here now. That means if we now say we pick up the bottom around 105,300 or a bit lower and let the price drop a little further here. But the RSI manages not to make a lower low here, but only goes down to this point. What do we have then? Then we would have a bullish divergence, which might actually play out. Of course, we would have to watch whether it grows larger and goes even further down. But that would be a reversal signal for me so that we could really start to rise. That's why this is the current approach. I will prepare for a new short position. That's what I'm going to do in this case here. Again, as you know, with my trading strategy. If you don't know it yet, just quickly go to my channel and subscribe. Watch the video, it works every time. I explain everything there in detail, and I can also recommend the playlist Learn Trading. Then you'll also see how I place my trades all the time. And right now, I'm really on an incredible winning streak in terms of win rate. For example, this would be my next possible short entry that I'm going to take unless we hit it beforehand. And now it depends on that. I'm going to position myself with a short. We're going to take a look at that now on the smaller time frame. Where is the liquidation above us on the shorter time frame? That would be this short position. And the second short I would take would be at 0.681. And that would also be the short I would take here, just to test if it fits, if I can get there. Because if that doesn't work, I'll still keep an eye on the 0.786 in the worst case. But what would my plan be now to really get a reversal? Because, as I said, we have 2 weeks of liquidity below us and 1 week of liquidity above us, both of which are very, very interesting. And how can I make the best use of these for myself? I know we still have something left below. I could use that now by saying, okay, we use this bearish price action that we have to once again reach the complete correction level up here and then pick up what's left below again. Maybe they create this bullish divergence and then you can prepare for a long position. It's always risky to go long down there right away, but if that's really the case now, it could also be that we go a bit higher again, so I don't want to miss that. But if that's the case, then at some point we will definitely make a new high. And then we should prepare ourselves. So if I don't see a clear reversal signal for myself that makes me say, okay, we're going up, we'll correct again and pick up new liquidity, which is created by this pump. And that's when I go long again and try to grab the liquidity up here. I hope you were able to follow me so far. That would be an optimal scenario for me right now. We'll see if it plays out that way, but at the moment, there's still no sign of a massive reversal. Of course, this support could hold here and we could continue to move higher. Ideally for me, I'd like to see a real bullish divergence and then we could continue like that. Of course, it's important now to look at the 12-hour and 1-day time frames in the liquidation heat map to get a more detailed insight. Take a look here. What do we have here? There's something at 110,000, at 111,000, we need to take a closer look. 111,291. But that's only been in the last 12 hours. Let's look at the last day, because the dump happened yesterday. And now we have an interesting zone here. If we actually continue to rise now, then the largest cluster is roughly at 111,450, which would extend up to 111,850. 111,450 to 111,850 would actually be this price range here. Even before the 0.618, of course, it's possible that we trigger that as well. But if things play out this way, so that we can continue here, correct this bearish price zone again, and pick up liquidity, then that would be optimal. Accordingly, and I want to say this now, I am halving my risk in these trades. Now, why? Because we don't have either a bullish or bearish price action overall, not in a way that we can see it here. We moved up nicely in a bullish way, had a really strong break of structure, then moved further down, so that's nice price action. At the moment, this strong consolidation zone is making me a bit concerned, so we might get a few fake outs here because of that. I'm halving my risk compared to what I usually take on my trades. That would be the approach for Bitcoin right now. And that's exactly how I'm going to do it. And Ethereum, guys, Ethereum, I think that was another mega trade. Ultra brilliant 0.681 entry. We even skipped the 0.5 there. I shared that live on Telegram here and closed it yesterday as well. Here too it went down a bit further, but now we're back up again. At the moment, I would do something similar here as well because we had a very, very strong and nice correction level. If we manage to catch 3,968, we'll go for another weekly trade on Ethereum as well. Because it's exactly the same. Above us, there's a lot. Below us, very little. Also on a daily basis, if we take a closer look, we can see that above us, more and more is starting to build up. That means it points to 3,800, 3,900. Now very interesting. What did I just say? 3,968. That could of course be roughly in this price range if we still pick that up. And here I would do something similar. Why is Ethereum even a bit more valid for me? In this case, because we, and I can show it here, we broke through the last low and also the previous low to the downside. Do you see what that means with a candle close once here and once here? For me, actually, any candle close we make here, not the wicks, but the candle close is what matters. What we had has now been broken to the downside, which for me is more of a sign. In order for us to see a recovery here, if it actually goes further down, let's take another look at the liquidations for Ethereum, and at the same time we'll also do this for Model 3. Because here too, Ethereum is of course super interesting. What do we have? Okay, here 4056 actually looks really exciting. I almost have to be careful here. 4056, where would that be? If I now go into my options here, I'll just move this away for now, into my perishables, 4056 would actually, then I probably wouldn't even take the 05, because if I see something light up like that over 3 days, it's unlikely for me that it would only go to 3,900 and then skip the 4,056. But 4088, that's very, very interesting. That means the 0618 entry. Could you even adjust or split it a bit better? That's another short position I'm going to prepare here. Really only at 0681, I'm playing it safe again. To be safe, I'd only go in with half here, but at 4056. And let's take another look at how far this part goes, 4088. What would my stop loss be? 4101. That would actually work out like that. So I split my position and say I'll just enter around here once. Or what might be even more reasonable, since the cluster is so strong, the 4050. I actually leave out the Fibonacci level and set it just above that, and I even get a better entry here, which I can use to push the surplus up a bit more as well. And then I have another short if it actually works out like that, because this could turn into a very bullish scenario again. Overall, we also see with Ferrum that here, and if I go down here, we're also consolidating a bit. And that's maybe not so optimal right now. What you can see is that we're also in a consolidation phase here, where a lot of bullish volume keeps coming in again and again. And if I move this away now, we can see exactly at the top. The same thing we saw earlier with Bitcoin, that we keep having a rejection zone. The rejection zone maybe even extends a bit up to here, a bit more precisely. And now the question is, how long will we consolidate here? And how long can you take advantage of this range here? Here too, I currently don't see any bullish divergence or anything similar indicating a massive reversal. And here it would also be interesting to see what we have on a larger time frame. And also then with level 3 data. If we look at the 2-week chart, it doesn't look particularly exciting above or below us right now. Let's quickly look at the monthly and then the weekly chart so we can see where things really stand out. We don't want to gamble here if we see that a trade could have its stop loss right in the liquidation zone. That doesn't make much sense, but it could certainly still be interesting below us. 3,539, if I'm not mistaken, I also have orders placed there. 3,455, 3,499, I still have orders placed there for Ethereum. Is there anything here that could indicate something? At least on the smaller, higher time frames, it doesn't quite look like a month would fit in here. At the same time, of course, I'm doing that as well. We'll take another look at the 3-day and 1-week charts, but it doesn't really look like it right now. Of course, we could still go lower, but now we'll take another look at the 3-day and 1-day charts. What I've accumulated now, because we have a strong reverse lower, that looks very appealing to me so that we can reach that. On the 1-day chart, do we see anything below us that could be interesting? Actually, just a little bit. I see that because there's currently a lot of short volume again. But overall, I don't find these levels particularly interesting at the moment. Of course, we have to see what else comes in, new liquidity. But the 3,500, which I currently have in there, my orders here, they don't look that good right now. I'll leave them open for a bit longer, but I'll analyze it again in detail. But at the moment, I only see the next opportunity I'll take, which I'm going to test, is exactly this 0.618 entry, but secured with the 4,050 as the entry point, because there's a lot of liquidity here. And we can also see that here down to 3,900 on a daily, let's say 12-hour chart. But the last 3 days have been very interesting. So above us, there's definitely a lot, but below us, not so much anymore. And that's actually what we wanted to see. We need liquidity above us, and that only builds up when we have lower prices. So that we can then have a nice reversal, and I hope we get to see that, based on a nice reversal pattern, a bullish divergence that we create, or something else. So that we can say we have a W pattern, an inverse head and shoulders, or something like that, so that we can really target the high time frames and pick up all those liquidation levels. Let's also take a quick look at Ethereum at the level 2 data, because that's still interesting. To wrap things up now, do we still have something here? Some orders, some order book volume that looks interesting? Here we have a massive cluster. Take a look at this. There's a massive cluster here. There are a few million in there which are definitely not uninteresting. 3,100, what has built up there today, is not uninteresting. What could that be? Actually, it's not that interesting, the 3,100 as I see it right now. But it's very interesting that people have placed orders there and that several million are going in. Maybe I'll place an order there myself. $3,900 can't hurt if we really do drop down that far. If those orders get cancelled, I'll withdraw my order there as well. But otherwise, folks, it doesn't really look all that spectacular. As far as order volume goes, up here we still have a little bit. Also a few million, but nothing exciting. We're talking about US dollars, not millions of Ethereum, it's millions of US dollars. Not that exciting at the moment. That's why it could actually be that we stay in the consolidation phase. But that's my approach at this point in time. That's it for now. Feel free to leave a like. That's my current analysis. I'll be placing those positions. I'll set that up again now after the video, and we'll see each other again next time.